Hi, everybody. Welcome back to this, the Cole and Noah Are Friends podcast, where every time we record, we ask the question at the end, are Cole and Noah still friends?
And most times that answer is a resounding yes.
Yes. Did you know we already had like 12 downloads on our last episode?
Where are these at?
They're nowhere. I'm lying. I haven't posted it.
I was like, I feel like you would have told me.
I would have, because we're
just
friends.
A surprise.
That's what friends do.
So Cole and I, before we were started, we were talking about the season finale of Obi-Wan coming out today, and I still haven't watched any of it, but whatever. And he was saying, I obviously haven't watched it because, you know, he's got kids and we both work at church early in the morning.
And a job and dogs.
And he's like, but my brother-in-law's already watched it. And they texted me and were like, hey, this basically like text us because we need to have a conversation, which I'm normally fine with things like that. But I have a friend who will do the same, usually with wrestling things or certain movies. And so I text them in advance, like, I'm not watching this live. Do not text me. Because they'll be like, oh my gosh, you won't believe this.
Yeah.
And whenever that happens, you, like with certain things, you expect them.
Yes.
But with certain things, you also don't expect them. And you don't want to expect them. You want to go in like a perfectly clean slate.
Right.
And with like nothing spoiled. And so I always text people in advance, like, hey, I don't want a thing. Because even saying we need to talk, like, it's the season finale of a show you all love, so obviously you're going to talk about it. But like texting, then it kind of sets up something like, oh,
right?
Oh, what's coming?
Yeah.
Oh, why do we need to talk? What happened?
Even that little bit changes your perspective on what you're expecting going into watching it. Are there legit spoilers for wrestling? The wrestling world?
I mean, yes, but not really spoilers. It's just like, since all the stuff happens live 90% of the time, on Sunday nights when I'm most busy, because I work that morning and then I work that evening.
Right.
There's like pay-per-views. And if it's a big pay-per-view where something's happening, I don't want any spoilers. And so if I see an Instagram thing that gets sent to me, like my friends used to do, then I immediately am like, guys, I am not home watching this live.
Right.
Please do not send me this. Please don't send me this. And yet they still do sometimes. So
that's interesting.
So no, wrestling, it's not as much. There used to be more spoilers in like the 90s and early 2000s because there were certain shows that weren't recorded live. Yeah. They like SmackDown, which is on Friday nights, used to be recorded on Tuesdays. Yeah. So like if it was here in town, you'd go on Tuesday night to see it and then know what was going to happen on Friday. Yeah. Or like you could read spoilers online because the people who were live tweet out spoilers.
Wrestling fascinates me. Like that wrestling. And by fascinates me, I mean...
confuses.
Bewilders why people watch it. Yeah, I understand it a little bit more now. Like, it's just entertaining. Yeah. Like, to me, think about it, I'm like, that would just be fun to watch.
Oh, exactly.
Like, the same way I would go watch any... Because when you're a kid, if you're not into wrestling, everybody's very... well thought out argument is that's all scripted, none of that's real, that's all fake, right? And now I'm like, oh no, I get it. Like you watch shows, you watch musicals, you watch. There are lots of things that are very entertaining that are not like air quotes real, you know. But there are real bodies doing the real motions.
Yes, they are athletes. At the end of the day, they're athletes and actors. Yeah, and you'd actually love it. A newer company called AEW. They've been around for like 3 years. There was a story being told that you would have loved because it was a story that spanned the like 2 years of this company. Yeah, of this guy named Hangman Adam Page, who he was one of the OG signings, and he was in this group called the Bullet Club, and then these main guys left the Bullet Club to start AEW, and he was in the first main event of the first pay-per-view under the AEW banner for the AEW Championship, and he lost. And then he kept challenging for the title, and he lost. And then he had this match where if he lost in this title match, he could never challenge for the title again. And it was against a former best friend in Kenny Omega, and he lost. He could never challenge for it again. So you're like, oh, there's no way. And then he was injured, so he left. And I think he was injured, and he also had a kid, so he took time away or whatever.
So like everything would say this guy is done.
Yeah, no way. Then he comes back as what was called the Joker in this, it's like I forget what they called it, but it was a ladder match of sorts where there was a mystery entrant. And he returned after like 6 months away. So everyone lost their mind. And it was like he returned to a live show after the pandemic when like people were in the arena. So he returned, and it was this humongous, what in wrestling is called a pop, which is like that OMG moment of like, whoa, what is happening?
Yeah.
Came out, won it. So it null and voided his can never challenge for this title again because he won the choice to challenge for any championship.
Oh, okay.
Then he challenged for that belt, and after 2 years of coming up short in every title match he was ever in, he finally won, and it was like this big 2-year crowning achievement. So it's like story that was played out really
well. That is fun story.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be really fun. I did have my younger brother years ago when we were kids loved wrestling, but I think more than he loved wrestling, loved the video games.
Yeah, yes, those are. And I love those.
Dude,
so
there was like. He sucked me into, I think it was like 2007 SmackDown versus Raw, and I would rip into him and I'd be like, I was like, this is all dumb. And then he had me play it, and I was gone that summer. That's all I was doing.
Dude, I've created, so I buy those every time they come out, and I have since SmackDown Here Comes the Pain in 2003. Yeah. And I've created my entire life group, like the guys in my life group. And so they'll come over, and when we'll wrap up Life Group, we'll simulate matches between everybody. And I'm going to do a tournament between all the guys, and whoever's character wins. It's completely chance. We don't play. We just put it on the highest difficulty and simulate matches. And everybody is a level 100 overall, so it's all completely chance. Whatever character wins the tournament, the next time we go to Topgolf, they get their Topgolf paid for.
That's awesome.
So we actually have like stakes. And all these people are like, I do not care about wrestling. And then they watch this match and they get involved. Even if the character doesn't really look like them, they're immediately like, oh my gosh. And I've like tried to pick pieces of them. So we have a guy in our group who's a part of a band. I got his band's logo and I imported it into the game, put it on his character.
That is
And then you can actually sync up Spotify with the game, and it'll mute all the game audio except for like entrance stuff. So you can choose whatever song you want. So I have him come out to one of his band's songs.
Dude.
And like I'll just create, like I created my son. And so when my son and I all play it together, he and I are a tag team with his and I's actual characters. And he gets to pick the song he comes out to, and he loves it. And it's fun, and his character looks ridiculous because he just picked all the stuff. But then I'll like make logos in Photoshop. So I took the Miles Morales Spider-Man logo because he loves that, and I put his name over the top of it, and then put it in an entrance video for him. So when it shows up, he sees his name and then like the Spider-Man logo, and he loses his mind.
Oh, I bet, dude.
And so like I could feasibly create all of our like youth team, all the men, because you can't have men fight women in the game,
right?
So I'd have to make like a counterpart for Becca of like a male counterpart. And it just gets really weird. And so, unfortunately, it's kind of exclusive a little bit. Because,
right.
So, but I could make all the guys in our youth team and simulate a match.
Right.
To see like who the ultimate youth pastor is.
I would be so down for that.
It's funny.
When you simulate it, like, do you get to watch the fight
happen?
Okay.
Yes.
So it's not like, because I used to play Madden, and
if you just simulate it,
it's just like boom, game done. Simulate.
No, you can do that if you do like GM mode or like the universe mode. You can just simulate, and it'll just say who wins, who loses, or you can actually watch it.
Yeah.
And so like we'll do, I think we have 8 dudes in our life group, and we'll simulate a massive 8-man match and do like elimination style. So then it comes down to like, it goes from 8 down to 2 people, and then sees who wins. It's crazy. It's a ton of fun. It's hilarious to watch too. It's just so funny. So,
man, you make me want to play the game.
I mean, if you're creative at all, and dude, people are insane with what they create. Like, people have made superheroes in the game, like Batman and things like that, Superman, all of those, and they look incredible. And this year they introduced cross-platform, what's called community creations, so you can access things people have made on Xbox, which has never been done in the past. So in the past, you've had to hope that there's a PlayStation creator who was as good as an Xbox creator, or vice versa. And they've also opened it up to sometimes PC people. Now, PC, obviously, you can mod.
Sure.
So you can't always do that. But for the most part, you can download creations from across the gaming universe.
That's ridiculous.
And there's some crazy creations.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome, dude. I love that.
Pretty fun.
I haven't played a game like that in a while. I used to play some, like, sports games were never my jam. I played some Madden because I had friends who were really into playing Madden. I played... I take it back. I got really into some of the Tony Hawk games when I was a kid because we used to skate all the time.
Sport. I mean, I know skateboarding is a sport, but it's like, it never has felt like a sport.
Yeah, you're right. It's different.
Like traditional media sport.
You're not playing MLB or FIFA or anything like that. Stuff I play now is like...
Those were incredible, though, the Tony Hawk games.
Oh, they're so good. So good. Tony Hawk's like Underground.
Oh, man.
Underground 2 was actually...
American Wasteland.
That game was so much... I was like... I used to, okay, confession time. You're about to learn more about how I would play with my action figures. Ready? So I was really into the minute movements of action figures.
Yes.
Like an action figure.
Posability, articulation.
Yes. Matters a ton.
Speaking my wave.
Yeah.
You're on the same wavelength as me as a child.
Let's go. So I had like the tech deck boards, but not like the mini ones, like
actual fingerboards
with the grip tape, and you could take the trucks and the wheels off and all that stuff. And I had a Spider-Man action figure that was the Spider-Man action figure. You might know what this is. It was a Spider-Man action figure from when Spider-Man 2 came out, and it was Spider-Man plus 4 Dr. Octopus arms all busting out of a wall.
Yep.
And it came as one toy.
Yep. And the Spider-Man, you could move every single finger and his toes.
Everything.
Yep.
It was amazing.
Dude, Spider-Man toys used to be like GOAT level.
Yes.
Because like other figures, like I obviously had a ton of Batman figures and the posability was awesome. Mm-hmm. But Spider-Man, it was like intentional that every finger had to move.
Yeah.
Every finger, because you have to do the signature
You got to
Spider-Man
be able to do this thing.
And yeah,
it was awesome. So
and I know the toy you're talking about.
Good. So I had that Spider-Man, and it was like the perfect height, and so just the scale of it worked perfectly with my fingerboards. And so I would bust out. This is my brain at work as a child. I would bust out my Monopoly board. I'd get out all the money and all the like houses and hotels and stuff, and I would pretend each property was just like a random different place, maybe a skate park. Yeah. And my Spider-Man character was like this broke idiot who just moved into town and had to work his way up to
you made Tony Hawk Underground real with your toys.
Oh, totally. Dude, but I was on a mission to own things. Like Tony Hawk Underground 2 is like, oh, let's be cool and ransack the world and earn points and maybe get famous. My mind game was like, I want to play a game where I get to go from like 0 to hero, but hero is like, I'm a pro skateboarder, but I own properties. And when I want to, I can compete in the X Games. But the big deal is that I'm I have an empire. And American Wasteland wasn't that, but it was the only game that gave me
Elon
some
Musk
like,
meets Tony Hawk.
Yeah, totally.
Dude, I had similar stuff. So like for me, I would collect a bunch of toys, and once I got into wrestling, they would all become wrestlers. Yeah. So I would like create finishing moves and things like that. And the other thing for me is, for a while, this is really niche. There were McDonald's toy. I did not care about basketball. Like there was a time when I played basketball and I was like into it. I'd never watched games, but I was like into basketball.
Right.
And for a while, McDonald's, their Happy Meal toys were basketball jerseys, different famous player jerseys. There's like Allen Iverson, Carmelo Anthony. I think there was LeBron James on whatever. So I'd go to McDonald's. I'd get a meal just to get a jersey, right? Yeah. Now, what I used this jersey for was I had a John Cena action figure, several dozen, huge John Cena fan, pro wrestling pack to that. And everyone now knows who John Cena is because of movies and things. Yeah. But so his thing for a while, circa like 2003, 4, 5, 6, before he got his own jerseys, is he would wear different sports teams' jerseys, baseball, basketball, whatever.
I vaguely remember that.
And so he would come out in those jerseys. And so for me, when McDonald's did this, I found out that these jerseys, hey, look, those look to be about the size of my John Cena figure. So I would force those jerseys on my John Cena and make him enter. And I had a fleet of these jerseys that every time I played with the John Cena, I'd swap out a different jersey. And when I tell you, I would play his entrance music off my computer in my computer room and make him enter to his music and then take off the jersey and wrestle a match. Dude, I had wrestling figure federations. I would create stages. I would create belts. I had my own action figure that I made of me several times over. I would get model paint, and I knew how to paint like things on the figure. And then I would get like plumber's tape and make custom elbow pads for my guys. Way. And like the paint, I found out if you seal it with super glue, it won't come off on the other figures. Like it would normally chip. This would not chip. I found out how to remove designs off of things using fingernail polish remover, and then I'd paint to cover it up. So like one of my guys, there's a tattoo on a body that I wanted my guy to have, and I was like, I don't have any tattoos. So I actually removed the tattoo with fingernail polish.
Oh my gosh.
Off the figure. And I'd like create stages. There's this cage that came, and I took it in half, and I made it part of my entrance stage. And then I painted my entrance stage, and I would buy, like I had a ton of weapons, and I would make custom weapons, and I had thumbtacks because they use thumbtacks in wrestling sometimes, and I would use those in my figure wrestling matches. I had fake blood. Like I had the whole 9 yards.
Dude.
I had this I would do whole shows. I had storylines. It was insane. I was deep into it.
That's insane.
Yeah. And it was, same with all my other action figures as well. They would have different stories or things like that. Usually I'd take like a Batman figure and make him a wrestler as well.
Yep. So totally. Man, that is so cool. That's so much creativity.
Yeah, and the action figures, I mean, like you said, the posability, it had to be there. That's so important.
Dude.
Like, that's what we've talked to Steven about this. Again, Steven Voss name drop, but he always says that Legos for him are like the end-all, be-all. He says Legos, and don't get me wrong, Legos are sweet. Infuriating, and I hate them so much, but they're sweet. But here's the reason: if I went to the store as a kid with my mom, and I walked back and I saw Spider-Man, Batman, Star Wars, superheroes or whatever, wrestlers, if I buy that toy, I could feasibly say, even I had my own money, I could go check out with that toy while my mom is still shopping in Walmart and open it, throw away all the stuff, and play with it in the store.
Yeah,
Legos, I don't have that luxury.
Right.
And if I drop my figure on the floor, he might get a little scuffed, but I can pick it back up and keep playing with it. Legos, unless you super glue them together, if I drop that, I'm in for a rude awakening because I got to remake the whole thing.
Right.
And that's if I kept the manual, and I'm not that creative to where I can just be like, oh no, I know how this looks, and I know how to put it back together exactly how it was.
Yeah, Legos is like a different kind of imagination. Like you build, and you can create stuff and make stories with it, but like action figures are such. They lend themselves to like, I have a story I want to tell, or I have like this fantasy thing I just want to be in, whether it's like the wrestling, whatever, or like a skate empire, or
for
whatever
you're
doing.
You took Spider-Man, Tech boards, a Monopoly board, and you made Cole Pro Skater Underground Empire, like Tycoon.
Right.
You combined like the Business Tycoon PC game with Monopoly, with skateboarding, with Spider-Man. So for you, it's like all these things coming together that you're like, oh, I can imagine this. Whereas like, you could have built, quote unquote, an empire with Legos, but you'd need a ton of Legos. You needed a Tech Deck, $2.99, a Spider-Man, maybe $10 at the time. Oh, how I miss when toys were cheap.
Right.
I wish I could have bought my son toys when they were as expensive as they were when I was a kid, because, man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man toys now, like $25, whereas then, $10.
Oh, it's nuts. It's nuts. I am being constantly amazed at like, so my daughter is almost 4 and she's really getting into imagining stuff now, and anything is a toy, which is super fun. And sometimes it catches me off guard because I'm like, that's just pure imagination at work. Like what was she looking for? She needed, I don't know, something. Pretend she likes to do doctor stuff with her toys, and she was looking for like, I need something that's a Q-tip, and she just turned and found like a scratch piece of paper that is shaped like a triangle, nothing like a Q-tip, and she's like, that'll work. And I'm like, how are you seeing this? Help me see like you see.
How do you see that as a Q-tip? It would be fascinating, and I think probably technology will get there someday, to just be able to tap into a child's brain to see how they think of and how they figure things out, because there are certain things like my son will say or do in the same way that I'm like, how did we get there? How did we, where point A to point B? Give me the synopsis of how you got here.
Yeah. This morning she was super fixated on a teeny tiny like caterpillar thing that we found in our bathroom, which was weird. She's like going to the bathroom, and then she looks down at the bottom of the shower, and she's like, Dad, it's a worm. I was like, no, it can't be. And then she goes to touch it, and it like shrank up, and I was like, oh my gosh, it sure is. That's a caterpillar.
Kian, same thing today. That's funny. You had a caterpillar experience. I had a butterfly experience.
Really?
This morning. We had a butterfly on our back door, and Kian, it's funny how he picks things out. He looked at the butterfly and he went, Dad, what are those things on its face? And I was like, okay, there's no way you can see the butterfly's face. I know you probably have good eyes because you're 5,
right?
But no way you got magnifying glasses for eyes, because I can't even see its eyes. Right. And so, but he like wanted me to come see it, and I was like, what? And he's like, those long things. I was like, oh, the antennas?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, why do they have those? And I was like, why do you even think I've never asked that.
Right.
And then I like looked, turns out butterflies' antennas are what they use to smell and taste.
Yeah.
And that was my guess, but like, for him to just look at that, and he's like, why do they have the long things on their back? And I was like, oh, the wings? That's what they use to fly. He's like, oh, then why do they need legs? And I was like, how are we getting here?
I wouldn't even think, why do they need legs?
I know, exactly.
That is a good question.
So they can land. And it's just all these things.
I guess like, I have legs and I don't need wings, so why do butterflies get both?
Yeah. It's just funny, again, how a kid's brain works.
Oh, yeah. She's at this point God is I am like always like, Lord, help me, give me patience, because Tessa is so curious about everything, and so we'll start reading a book, and every single page she has 4 to 20 questions.
It takes so long.
She's like, wait, why is that blue? Why are they standing there? Why is she sad? She's not sad. She's sleeping. Oh, wait, why is that bear not real? It's a stuff, but he's real in this picture. No, it's telling a story. Just let me finish the story.
Just let me read the book.
Let me read the book. Dang it.
He's recently gotten into. I've been buying him wrestlers because I want him to like wrestling too. Yeah. Which, much to the chagrin of my wife. But I bought him wrestlers, and he'll like ask me, like, he has a wrestler named Darby Allin, or he has a Hangman Adam Page toy.
Yeah.
And he's like, Dad, why is his name Hangman Adam Page? And I'm like, that's the name he picked, buddy. I don't know. And he's like, why do you always say that? Like, why is that your answer? Like, why do you always say that? I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, well, just tell me. And I'm like, buddy, I don't know why they pick their names. I'm not friends with these people. I'm not just making up their names. These are their names.
Right.
He's like, why is this one's name Trent? Why did he pick the name Trent? I was like, that's just what he picked. He's like, why do you say that? I'm like, dude, I wish I knew. I wish I had I wish I was an encyclopedia for you. Right. I'm not.
Yeah.
So
I use the word mystery a lot with Tessa. She hasn't asked why yet. But seriously, that's my like, I don't know. And she'll be like, well, why? And I'm like, I don't know. It's a mystery. Some things we just don't know. And she'll go, mystery.
She's like, I'm going to find it.
I'm going to figure that out. Like, all right, Dad. I'll succeed where you failed me.
You're really Obi-Wanning this situation.
Yes. I was thinking about Star Wars actually because of our conversation last time, and about just the way I was describing it to you, and you were like, oh, the way you described that, 1, makes me think of how I describe Batman, and 2, makes me think I might actually be interested in that story versus what I've thought Star Wars is about. I was thinking about it today, and I was like, you know what? Star Wars is not about stars, nor is it about wars. It is like completely...
Where did they get that name?
Where'd they get that name from? It's a mystery.
Do you think they were just like, I'm like George Lucas when he was creating it? Do you think he was just like, you know what? We don't know a lot about space. There's a lot of space movies out there. I wonder what it'd be like if people fought in space.
In space.
Now, what is up in space? Stars.
Stars.
And they're going to be fighting, so wars. Stars Wars?
Stars Wars.
Star Wars.
Single star. The whole thing is a lie. It's about one star, one war. No,
and
one star, many
Luke
wars.
Skywalker.
The real star. No, it's Star Wars is like the setting, space, and the conflict. You're... like, it's sci-fi. You're like, oh, Star Wars, yeah, great, awesome. But the actual, like, the thing that Star Wars is about is family. That's the whole thing.
Can you picture the first pitch meeting when he pitched the idea of Star Wars to somebody and the people who shot it down? Like, can you imagine how dumb they feel? Like, nope. They lost out on that property.
Yeah.
Like, there's just certain things that you don't... It's just like comic books. Like,
yeah.
The person who first put out the Superman comic back in the 30s, like... when they put it out, do you think the thought ever crossed their mind ever once where they said,
be huge.
They're like, one day this comic is going to sell for like $3 million. This 64 pages of color and black and white pages is going to be $3 million someday.
Do you are you asking if you think the person who made it had that
like
vision
I
for
obviously
the future?
They probably like sometimes you got to wonder like do people just put stuff out because a lot of times when people put like an art out, they just are like, oh, this is going to be like, this is for me more than anything. And
right.
Maybe it'll blow up or like in the 30s, like, do you think people had that same thought process of like, I'm going to put this out with the intent of this blowing up? Because now, obviously you put something out in the world. Yeah. Most times it's like, I hope this does well so then I can get sponsorships so then I can keep doing this or so this person sees it. But like then, like, what do you think that looked like?
Yeah.
This is so much different of a world.
Very. That was almost 100 years ago. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. 8 years from now.
8 years from now, it will have been 100 years ago. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what... I find it hard to believe that many, like, creators were thinking, I'm going to make something that's going to, like, sweep the globe and be huge. Because I don't think that happened very often. Now we're in a spot where everything's super interconnected. All it takes is, like, one semi-influential person who is followed by other semi-influential people to post a thing that enough people like, and it's just, like, in a day, everywhere. And it's a new thing. It becomes a new cultural phenomenon. Like, I didn't go see Morbius, but I found out through memes that it's terrible. And right now, that's the new meme thing.
And because of memes, it got to go back in theaters and was a commercial failure again. There'll still be a sequel.
Is there really going to be a sequel?
I don't know. I hope not.
Did you see it?
No.
Good.
I will not ever see it. Venom has betrayed me twice now. Other than Tom Hardy is good.
I'm so happy about. I should want the success of Sony as a Christian because, work for the good of all. But I love Spider-Man so much, and I have not been pleased with how Sony has handled the properties ever. And that was before Venom 1 was ever announced. So when it got announced, I was like pure cynic.
And now there's a Craven movie. There's a Madam Web movie. But separate from. Also, supposedly this new Craven movie. Yeah. Supposedly this Craven. You know how he in the Spider-Man comics is Craven, the hunter.
Yeah.
And hunts and wears an animal.
Yeah.
200% of the time.
200%.
He loves animals in this Craven movie.
No, he's craving some animals.
Yeah. So again, we get another villain movie, and I get it. Venom is. Craven really doesn't make sense to me because Venom makes sense because it's Spider-Man's biggest name.
Yeah.
When you think Spider-Man, you think Venom or the other movie titles now, obviously Doc Ock and things like that. But most times it's Venom, Green Goblin, Doc Ock.
Yep.
Same way they're making now a Joker sequel, which again, I don't really understand. Mm-hmm. I'll see it because I like the first one, but also supposedly it's going to be a musical and Lady Gaga is going to be Harley Quinn. Yeah, that's the big newest rumor cycle.
Joker, the musical.
No, it's called Joker Part 2, Folie à Deux, I think. The French phrase that is also the name of a Fall Out Boy album. And Lady Gaga is going to be Harley Quinn.
All right, then.
Good
luck.
Again, very confusing how they took Joker 1 and they're like, you know what would be good for a sequel? A musical.
They were probably inspired by the Rogers musical from... from
I want to see that whole thing.
So I was
and cringe my way through it.
I was watching it's the last episode of that series, right? Where they literally
show that
play that whole number, and I'm sitting there thinking, multiple someones actually had to write this. Somebody actually, and that's the joke, and it's brilliant and it's hilarious. Someone actually had to write a number for a Rogers musical.
Yep. And possibly more than one number.
Right.
And choreograph more than one number.
Yes.
Potentially an entire musical.
Yeah. It's really funny. I wonder if they pulled inspiration from... did you ever watch Avatar, The Last Airbender?
Huh.
Okay, so I heard forever this show was amazing. I saw some of it as a kid, but not all of it. And I finally, when I had last year, the Delta variant of COVID, which kicked my organs around in my body, it was brutal. I was like, this is my chance. I'm going to binge The Last Airbender.
Well, I can't do anything.
It was a really trying time for me, actually. By day 2, I was like, what is life? Everything is meaningless.
All is dark.
I can do
Let me watch Morbius. I was calling for the end.
It's Morbin time. I couldn't. I was like, I have everything that I've ever wanted. When I'm like, man, all I want to do right now is just play some video games, or whatever. I can play all the games I want. I can watch all the TV I want.
I can't be around my family.
I can't be around my family. I have all the alone time I could have ever asked for, and now everything is meaningless.
Everything is gone.
So everything. So I forced my way through The Last Airbender, which was great. I highly recommend people watch. It's awesome. I love it. Reason I bring it up, the end of the finale. Prior to the finale, 1 or 2 episodes, they go and they watch the main characters go and watch a reenactment of the Avatar and his crew. And it's basically a parody of the whole series so far. And it's hilarious. It's awesome. It's really, really smart. And I didn't think about it when Hawkeye was playing, but now that I think about it, I'm like, I wonder if they got inspiration from that. Because it's the same thing. It's just a parody of the Avengers. And what other shows or movies have done that? Because I've only seen it once. I'm sure it's been done more than once. But
there's always a musical episode in a show of some kind or a weird episode of some kind. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Favorite kind of TV episodes? Halloween episodes, always. Really? Halloween episodes of TV shows are always so good, especially the Disney Channel shows. When I was younger,
oh man,
the Lizzie McGuire Halloween episode. Whenever that was on TV, I'd watch it. Even Stevens, same thing.
Even
That's So Raven.
Stevens,
Dude, the Halloween episodes of Disney shows are the Halloween episode of Boy Meets World. Oh my gosh, it blew my mind.
Dude, I never really watched Boy Meets World.
My dad loved it, so I watched it all the time.
My dad loved Even Stevens.
Dude, Even Stevens, so good. It's such a good show. I'm also friends with Beans on Facebook.
Are you really?
Stephen Anthony Lawrence, baby.
Beans!
That was no joke. That was one of the first friends I added when I got Facebook. I randomly found his Facebook.
Mark Zuckerberg and Beans.
And it wasn't a page. It was a legit, like, this is his real profile.
Yeah.
And I added him, and I'm still friends with him to this day. So I'll randomly be scrolling Facebook and see a Stephen Anthony Lawrence status update. And it kills me every time.
Oh my gosh, dude. I used to watch, I don't remember much of the show, but we watched the Even Stevens movie so many times.
Great movie.
So many times. Yeah.
I just have one distinct memory of it, and it's there's an episode where the gym teacher loves crinkle cut fries, and he goes to order them, and I don't remember how. There's a whole bunch of shenanigans, but he's about to eat the first crinkle cut fry that he'll get to, and then this alarm system in the school turns on, and it's like the old school lasers, like the school is armed with lasers.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So he's about to eat the fry, and then a laser comes up right in front of his face, and so he can't eat the fry without setting off the alarms and the police showing up. And so that's how the episode ends, is him going to eat the crinkle cut fry, and then these lasers turning on. Like, he finally gets to eat the fry, and no, he doesn't.
Good old Disney.
Yeah.
Old Disney. That was honestly the only reason I was interested in Transformers when it came out. I was like, oh, Shia LaBeouf. I love that guy's show.
Wasn't it Lewis Stevens?
Lewis.
Oh, and can we talk about Holes? We want to talk about Shia LaBeouf.
Holes.
Dude.
I loved that movie. I probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it
Dude,
in
Mary
years.
Lou.
Mary
find the onions in the middle of the desert?
Yeah.
Or they're peaches or onions?
No, they were onions.
Yeah, Mary Lou.
He pulls them up out of the ground and they eat them. They're onions.
So gross.
Oh my gosh, he's eating.
And they're
just onions.
200 years old. Like fermented onions.
There's like the onion. Okay, no, they find onions on the like top of a waterfall thingy, cliff, whatever they climb. But then there's the stuff they find under a bridge.
No, they find it under a boat.
That's
where Zero's alive. He's hiding under the boat to get out of the sun.
There's weird jam stuff in there.
I remember the sad moment of watching that in elementary school, watching Sam get shot on a boat. I was devastated. Devastated.
What was their name? The name on the treasure was like Yelnats or something.
Yeah, Yelnats. Well, that was their name.
It was backwards.
Stanley Yelnats was his name. Stanley Yelnats.
Oh,
yeah, Stanley. His last name was Yelnats. Yeah.
That's
so they
awesome.
thought it was fun. Oh, misery.
Misery. That movie inspired me to believe that I could dig deep holes too.
And a lot of them. All I need is a friend named Armpit.
I wish I was joking too. I love digging. I used to. I'd go out and I'd be like, they dug so many holes.
I love digging. I'm going to get that tattooed on my other leg.
I love digging.
I love digging coal. People be like, why'd you get that tattooed? I'll be like, it changed me.
You just cycle when you're bored with your Pro Skater Monopoly empire. You just run out to the yard with a spade.
Dig a couple holes, get nice and tired, drink an ice cold cup of water out of the hose.
Yes!
And then you come inside.
Oh, man.
Continue building that empire. You're on the pause screen of life.
There are little things from my childhood that I can't wait to show my daughter that I think my wife is just like, I would love it if you never ever mentioned this to her ever. Like drinking out of a hose, which is not the worst thing in the world. So we used to have, when I lived in Iowa, we used to have like, those like red well spigots where you got to the handle. You got to
pump it,
crank it up. But once it's up, it just it comes out. We had one of those right next to our trailer, and man, me and my brother and the dogs would drink out of that thing all the time.
And that's coming from the earth.
The earth is so it's pure, clean. It's just fresh well water, and it tastes so good.
You saying well water reminds me. We have another pastor on staff who's speaking out at Camp Rivercrest currently.
I just saw that.
Yep.
Yeah,
and she sent me a picture recently, and they still have our royalty signs up on some of the cabin doors.
No way.
Which is very funny.
We're just making a lasting impact. That's all.
Lasting impact. Campaign finished this year. last year.
Last year?
Oh man,
it never ends. It will go on forever. It will live in
it will last
infamy.
Forever. Lasting infamy.
Lasting impact was lasting.
Amen. We can close.
Amen.
Yeah, I remember drinking from hoses, man. What a time.
Drinking from hoses. It's good stuff. If you haven't done it, I highly suggest
it. Give it a try.
You should.
Unless you live in Flint, Michigan.
Don't do that. Did you ever see the guy who was doing an Orbeez video and then he just dumped a ton of Orbeez? I think he flushed them or poured them down the sink or something like that. And then they started bursting out of the people's houses.
Yeah, so that was in an Italian or French village. I read about that and was crying laughing.
Yeah.
Because there's a picture and it's burned in my brain of him standing by a sewer and it just filling up with mud and Orbeez.
Yes.
Dude, he flooded his village. And the best part is he tried hiding from police as he posted this video to his YouTube channel.
No.
Dude, it kills. Yeah, he flushed it down it. He put it in his bathtub. And the way the village is lined up is it's all the same plumbing or something.
Yeah.
Which is kind of gross when you think about it. If your toilet ever backed up, you just backs up into your tub.
Yeah.
If somebody used the bathroom while you were bathing for whatever reason, then it just starts backing.
That's disgusting.
But yeah, he filled up his tub because that was the trend.
Yep.
And he didn't block it, so it just filled up, made a bunch of Orbeez, and then he's like, "Oh, ha ha ha! It won't go down the drain." And then he looked at his toilet, and they started flooding out his toilet, and he's like, "Uh-oh!" And then his sink, the same thing. And then he got notes that it was flooding the sewers with Orbeez, in his village. Dude. And the police were actively looking for him.
What do you charge a guy like that? How do you charge that?
I mean, it's got to be vandalism or something. I
flushed stuff. I went down the drain.
Yeah, the Orbeez.
But it's non-toxic. You can't charge him with pouring, gasoline down your drain or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. This is
what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if you mess up the plumbing for your block, but your whole village to mess up the plumbing and
first
overflow the streets.
If you live in a village, there's
true.
We got a whole nother set of problems.
But that's the thing is, it's a modern village, obviously, because it's just posting to YouTube. But no, it's the village M. Night Shyamalan. They all had their minds blown when they were like, he has a video camera?
What is this magic?
What is YouTube?
I am a sorcerer. I have sent my minions to your water lines.
They're in the shape of Orbeez.
Evil's coming out of the wall.
Whoa, Orbeez master.
Oh, man. Well, on that note, we didn't even get to really talk about Batman.
That's all right. We'll save it.
We'll do it next time.
That way I can watch Batman again.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it twice. One thing I'll say about Batman, if you still haven't seen it for whatever reason, this Batman movie has the best entrance of Batman of all time. Ever. And I will stand by that. For me,
agreed.
It does not get any better. The entrance of the Batmobile, the entrance of Batman, dude, the second he appears on screen, it is an intimidating presence, and you're like, "Yep, we're in for a ride."
Yeah.
And I could harp on that movie for forever.
I can't wait.
It's so good.
Cool. Well,
the most important question: are we still friends?
I think so. I feel like better friends.
Honestly,
I've never really talked to anybody about my Pro Skater Spider-Man Empire before.
Dude, I'm telling you, if you get there are a few things I can talk about for a long time: Batman, my faith, music, action figures, and wrestling.
Yeah.
And superheroes and stuff. But action figures especially, that's an untapped thing that a lot of people don't know about me. I always joke that I've lost my creativity, or I'm not very creative. If you bring up action figures, dude, there are still sometimes I'll look at my son's wrestling toys and I'll just stare at them and remember. As dark as that sounds, I will stare at them and I'll just be like, one of these days when no one is home, I'm gonna play with those toys. I'm gonna have a wrestling match with those toys. I'm gonna go buy a wrestling ring, and I'm gonna sit in my basement alone, and I'm gonna have a wrestling match. But my wife and kids cannot be here because I can't deal with that embarrassment.
Right? Yeah, they can't see me. Can't be seen. I do that when Tessa and I are playing games together. I'll just start playing with whatever toy she's got, and then the next thing I know, I'm I'm into whatever I'm doing. And then she's like, no, Dad, Mickey
you
has to
created
be
a story.
Yes. I'm
you're
doing something.
You're like, Tessa, I need to finish the story. I can't leave right now. I need to know what happens.
Babe, I love you, but if you ask me to play Baby Puppy one more time, I might just... I'm going to...
You don't understand, Tessa? Mickey is on a quest right now, okay? He's building an empire. He just bought out this fleet of apartments on Park Ave, okay? He needs new trucks for his skateboard.
Oh, gosh. This is great.
On that note, don't flood your toilets with Orbeez.
Don't do it. It's a bad idea. We'll see you next week with even wiser, sagey advice.
And with even more friendship.
Yeah.
Next week, double the friendship.
Okay, bye. Bye.